All right, man. Every week on the show, we get a stumper here from our own ID yourself, and he always challenges, man. So what do we got for ID the question?
From your scalp to your feet, I did a question when you speak. Let me just talk to you for a second. I want to know about like gang membership, right? So is gang banging like how did I write it? I said is gang banging a generational tradition or is it a generational curse?
Ooh, okay, okay. Let's talk on it, guys. Let's talk on it.
What's are the gang members in here?
And I just want, I mean, but that's the thing, bro. That's the thing. We're at a point. Listen, now check it out. Check it out. We're at a point where I know Caucasian males and females, right, who go traveling all the time, and they have to Google the color of clothing that they're okay to wear where they're going. You feel me? So it doesn't matter if anybody's a gang member in the room. It's just the fact that everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. No, that's real. I would say initially, because of how it's transpired, a generational curse. But what was the other word you used? A generational what?
Tradition.
Yeah. But I would say that it started like its roots and cores is at tradition. But over time, with conscious efforts from the powers that be in the opposition, and not a color opposition, but political opposition, you know what I'm saying? It has turned into something that has become a curse, you know. Around for the wrong reasons, you feel me? But I mean, if you look at the core, what it started off of, it was hold down your.
Yeah, my answer is tradition.
Yeah.
I also agree tradition. You know, my pops is a gangbanger from here in Seattle.
They just told on him.
I mean, it's real. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to. You got to just come out with it because
there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like I was,
they gonna tell you anyway that you a gangster.
I was
So
blessed into my dad's set, you know, just because of the way he carried himself through his years and stripes he earned. But it wasn't something that he glorified. It was a lesson. Be better than me. Do better than me. But this is where we come from. This is where I came from. And when you step into this gonna come with that. But I've been blessed enough to be able to ride off what my dad did in the 80s and in the 90s and stuff, to be able where I can move freely. And personally, I don't really, you know, feel no heat from no kind of sets from nowhere in Seattle, because the way I move is love, and you know, I'm not out here banging on nobody, and nobody's banging on me. But when you ask about it, you know, my name checks out in the right neighborhoods, in the right places. And so tradition, it's always a tradition, but the way you treat it, it can be a curse if somebody's only going into the negatives of it. For me, it was definitely a blessing, because the things that my pops went through and the things that he learned and passed on to me, it helped me be able to maneuver better. So I think I'm riding the fence and say a little bit of both. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a tradition and a curse.
Well, what are you thinking, Yohiness?
I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
That ain't really my world. I don't really speak too much on it.
No, I feel it.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not my thing.
My mom asked me the weirdest question the other day. She's like, "Do you have any gangs in Seattle?" And I'm like, "I don't know nothing about that."
That's a good thing, bro. If it's not your, see, y'all are answering the right way.
Keep her informed.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole point of it. Like, as the tradition that it started as, it was for protection of the neighborhood. You feel me? And in that sense, if you didn't know about it, you weren't supposed to. And so in that way, the way you're answering is the way you're supposed to answer. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be to the point where it's all over the news and all this jazz, bro. Like,
Absolutely, bro. That's real.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't, you know, it's, what is it, 6 of us, bro? And I don't see 6 gang members on here. So it's just a weird topic to really speak on. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. It's a glorified curse.
I know it's kind of like you would have to ask gang members that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't.
You know, it is tradition for some people, and I know people that's from it, and I'm not going to speak on their journey.
Like me personally, I've asked enough of them and grew up around enough of them, and are still very close friends with enough of them to speak on it. But that's the only reason why I put it on the table. And everybody's answer, again, it's completely valid for their lack of interest, their lack of involvement, their lack of growth around it is all completely honest and valid. I just wanted to put the question on the table.
I do want to say I do think people click up by nature. I don't really feel
true.
And you know, some people say the police is a gang, so it's not like
absolutely.
It's a generational curse.
I agree with that too.
I wouldn't call it a generational curse. I think it's just embedded in our nature.
I agree.
I think when you put the term banging on the back of it, it makes it seem like generation.
What? How else would you word it?
Specific demographic. I'm not saying that it was worded incorrectly, but if you just say like gang culture in general, then it encompasses that like the police force and this other thing and the camaraderie side.
Well, to even bring it back to music, the way it influences the art though, because nowadays, what's popular? Street music,
True,
trapping, drill music. That's what gets plays and what gets spin. So it is prevalent in the world we live in. But to Yo's point, like if you're not from that, you don't got to speak on it. If you're not comfortable with that, you don't got to. Like I mean, my story is not my story. My dad was a gangbanger. Like I said, he don't glorify this shit. Like don't do this. Learn from this.
Right.
Do better. But for everybody, for anybody that's
how a real big homie is supposed to be though, which is what I meant when I was saying about
you can't treat it all negatively because there are good things that come out of it. It's really what you decide yourself to focus on. So if you're gonna be in a neighborhood environment, like I do community events, that's where my neighborhood vibes come from. I don't gotta bang on nobody to say I rep Seattle or I rep a certain part of the state or whatever it is. I show that with my actions. I show that with what I do. So, like, if someone asks me, "What's your gang?" Like, I rep this whole state. I'm repping for Casa Tacoma, Casa Seattle.
I see that.
In between Federal Way, Kent, Renton. So, I mean, it's really how far are you going to take it, and then where you come from. So it's a little bit of both. The tradition, but don't make your tradition into a curse.
Yeah, 1000%. Like
beautiful answers, man. Beautiful answers.
Asking someone where you from, or like and what you bang is two completely different, questions. With the banging, it's 100% the gang culture. I'm not from that. I didn't come from no gang culture. But like I'm from Federal Way. You know what I mean? And like it's a trickier situation with people that grew up in Seattle. You know what I mean? Because it's like you get cats who's from the CD, but they might not even be streets, but you went to Garfield, you're from the CD. You know what I mean? You can't take that from that person. But is he from East Union? You know what I mean? But he might grew up over there. You know what I mean? It's just it's just such a tricky thing, man.
And I completely understand that. That makes complete